In Italy, racing, like family, is in the blood.
Ferrari has been in Formula One since the beginning, in the good moment, in the difficult moments, in some tragic moments, without a stop. This, I think, is important.
Our family is spread the world over, but once a year we welcome them home with open arms. We have done for generations, because racing is in our blood. The homecoming brings its own pressure. It's 4 long years now since the tifosi savored the special flavor only an Italian victory can bring.
Michael Schumacher has delivered the result the romantics amongst us all wanted. He is Ferrari royalty.
It's going to be my last Monza race at the end of this year. I've decided that I'm going to retire.
We all wondered whether our adopted son could ever be replaced, and never imagined he would return in anything other than red.
The drivers change, the Ferrari is still there.
We have a new family member now who is winning our hearts.
Fernando Alonso. It's his first race for Ferrari, and he's a winner in Bahrain.
The summer months have presented unique challenges.
Fernando is faster than you.
Alonso has gone as well, another championship contender, fails to score points.
So the time to deliver is now, and our people will hang on every twist and turn of our historic Monza.
And the Tifosi are out in force to welcome Ferrari home. These guys may have not seen a win here for the prancing horse since 2006, but in the week that it was announced by the sports governing body that Ferrari will face no further sanctions after the team order scandal at the German Grand Prix, perhaps they already feel like winners, hey? Added to that, of course, the fact that Ferrari have a brand new driver coming to Italy for the first time at a circuit where they've enjoyed plenty of success over the years. Home to the Italian Grand Prix since 1922, Italian star Giuseppe Farina won the first Formula One race here in 1950, and since then the famous old banking may have faded away, but Ferrari's dominance remains strong. 17 times they've won around the famous fastest track of all, and plenty has changed since the likes of Ascari, Fangio and Moss dashed around here, and the next few races prove that point, with the likes of Singapore, Korea and Abu Dhabi pointing east towards the future of Formula One. And the future may boast incredible circuits and a really modern Formula One experience, but the real reason for this level of interest in Formula One is because of the racing. And when it comes to the racing, the classic tracks still deliver, as we saw just 2 weeks ago.
Welcome to Spa, the most respected circuit on Formula One's calendar. They're away! Hamilton, and look at Kubica the way he's jet forward, and Webber's had a shocking start. Hamilton into the lead straight away, Button ahead of him and just coming through there, but Hamilton leading, Webber's dropped way back. He's back in 6th place already. And here comes Buttons on the inside of Kubica. Has he just it right? They've both got to start, they're all going off. That's because of the conditions. They've all got to make sure that they get into trouble. There's a problem there. That's Barrichello into Alonso. Alonso could be out, or has he managed to keep going? He is, but Barrichello in his 300 race has stopped. This could be a chance for Jenson Button, and it is. Button is past. Vettel goes off onto the grass. It's now McLaren 1-2. Extraordinary. Oh, little from there. Vettel has lost it there on Jenson Button, and that's gone. And two championship contenders are really in the wars. Jenson Button is out of the Belgian Grand Prix.
A massive blow. Yeah, it hurts quite a bit, really.
There's Vettel coming through the inside of Liuzzi, and he got that one right. Oh, no, he didn't. He's hurt himself as much as Liuzzi, and he's going off the road. He's got a left rear puncture. Now, somehow, he's got to get back. And this is no short lap.
Coming down heavier and heavier.
Okay, understood, Lewis. We don't want to jump too early in case the rain doesn't get any worse.
Interesting to see
that
Hamilton's gone off. Lewis Hamilton's gone off. It's gone wrong.
No, he's going to get back on. It's okay, and he'll still be in the lead.
Alonso has gone spinning. Another championship contender fails to score points. Lewis Hamilton has won at Spa. It's his first victory here at this famous circuit, and it's just what McLaren needed after Hungary.
Woo-hoo! Fantastic stuff, guys, this weekend. So happy. Woo!
Congratulations, Lewis Hamilton, the current World Championship leader. What a race for him, what a race for McLaren, and now we arrive here in Italy. Now, Eddie, I don't want you to panic. You will get your chance to talk about Ferrari and the World Motorsport Council very shortly, but first, let's just talk about Monza, David, because you can't go from Spa to Monza without talking about the history of this place. You won in Spa, you won here as well. When you're in the midst of a season, do you sort of take time out to realise actually where you are in the history of a place?
Yeah, definitely. All of these guys have grown up following the sport. Places like Abu Dhabi obviously was not something they were following at that time. Monza has a great place in the history of Formula One. There's been great triumphs here, tragedy of course. It's definitely not lost in this current crop of drivers.
Yeah, 40 years this year that Jochen Rindt lost his life here, of course. Eddie, you came here as a rival to Ferrari. You won here as well. There was always that feeling, isn't there, when you come here? How dare you turn up and beat Ferrari in Monza, but you managed it.
But they're always very gracious with it. It is a splendid place to come. It's hard to actually give the viewers the full belief that's going on here. It's very passionate, and I have to say that location, I'm sure David's the same, winning at Monza was a very emotional day, not just for me personally, the team, everyone involved in it. It's a remarkable place to come to.
Well, David winning, Eddie winning. The fans here have seen a lot over the years, but rarely have they seen a title battle as close as this. Just to show you just how tight it is, have a look at both the drivers and the constructors' standings. As far as the drivers are concerned, just 3 points separates Lewis Hamilton from Mark Webber, and it's even closer as far as the constructors' race. 330 points to Red Bull, 329 to McLaren, just 1 point away. And with the stakes so incredibly high, the teams are having to do everything they can just to get the edge on their rivals, sometimes going a little bit too far. And after what happened on the track in Germany, of course, we had a $100,000 fine for Ferrari. They were then sent in front of the World Motorsport Council this week. So I suppose you can forgive people for the fact that Ferrari are very much the centre of attention this weekend.
The launch of the Ferrari Virtual Academy took place here on Thursday, a computer game where fans can race and try to beat Fernando Alonso and Felipe Massa's lap times on the Ferrari simulator. Ironic, given that Alonso and Massa have not been allowed to race each other on track.
Fernando is faster than you. Can you confirm you understood that message?
Ferrari argued this was not a team order, just a piece of information. The FIA, though, along with everyone else watching, disagreed, especially as a piece of information is seldom followed by an apology.
Good lad, just stick with it now, sorry.
The FIA's investigation has revealed a lot of previously secret detail. Massa had been told 4 times that Fernando was faster than him before that final message. Alonso had a faster car at the time because he was in a higher engine setting than Massa, who'd been told to turn his engine down. And Ferrari wanted to manage the drivers in the first place because they'd learnt from experience that it's too risky to allow them to race. When all this information was put before the FIA in Paris earlier this week, Ferrari were found guilty of the team orders charge and of acting in a way prejudicial to the sport. But the FIA reasoned that since others had used team orders in the past and not been charged, it would be inappropriate to penalise Ferrari beyond the $100,000 fine already handed out. The FIA president also pointed to the delicate legal position.
Before you say you are guilty, you need to be able to prove that you are guilty. And if you understand all the parts who have been asked, I mean, everybody has denied that it was a team order.
We take notice of the decision of the Work Council that has confirmed the decision of the steward of the German Grand Prix. But we really appreciate the fact that the Work Council has really taken into consideration the fact that the rule has to be, in a way, amended and make it much clearer.
Reaction in the paddock has been mixed. Management want the team orders rule to either be properly enforced or abolished, while the drivers want to be allowed to race freely.
You go out to win the Drivers' Championship for yourself, as well as the team, but you put yourself first, and you shouldn't expect another driver to help you win the Drivers' Championship, I don't feel.
I think it leaves it untidy, and I think now, is that the price of affecting a team order, 100 grand? I don't know. I think the fact is we have to really think about what do we want in this sport. Are we going to be very, very clear there are no team orders, and if there aren't, then we've got to enforce the regulations. If there are going to be team orders, then let's just be open and public about it, because I think it's quite damaging to the sport where there appears to be this hypocrisy of what most people can consider to be a team order is now being judged not to be a team order or not to be a serious team order.
And if you have any questions about the passion of the Tifosi, we're in grave danger of being trampled on any moment here, because we're in the way of the garage and these guys, they want to take a look at a Ferrari car. David, it's very easy for teams, whether it's McLaren or Red Bull, to take the high ground in a situation like this, but when we're listening to Martin Whitmarsh, it's quite important to remind ourselves that you've been in the midst of team orders at McLaren on the receiving end of them.
Well, indeed, but what they would say, of course, is at that time it was not a written rule. After 2002, the events of Austria, it was put in as a rule that you weren't allowed to give team instructions that would benefit one driver over the other. The bottom line for me is that it's always been a part of the sport, and I think that the outcome of this hearing will see a clarification at the end of the year, and then we'll all know, the fans at home, we in the paddock, will know where we stand for the future.
And that's the issue, really, Eddie. The FAA brought in a ban that effectively didn't really ban team orders, it just pushed them under the carpet, if you like, so they still went on. So they were in a difficult position during the hearing this week, but you are seriously unhappy about the outcome of that hearing, aren't you?
Well, unhappy maybe not quite the right word, but here's my view. My view is very clear on this, that I think the FIA have allowed themselves, put themselves in a potential position of ridicule. And I say that for this. Fans and generally the people deserve and want to see fair play in sport. Motor racing is no exception to that. And in this particular case, if Alonso was to win the championship by 2, 3 points, whatever it is, against any of the other 4 people, rightly, and the FIA put themselves up on a pedestal, and they're going to be shot down because they should have taken the points that Alonso got by breaching the rule.
And you were so involved in that, you hardly noticed that you nearly got run over by some tyres.
I did notice it was a Ferrari bunch of tyres at the same time.
We'll take a proper look at this in Singapore, but it's important to point out to people that if the team orders ban is lifted, and it looks like it's unenforceable, so therefore maybe lifting it is the only way to go, that they will still see real Formula One racing. Just explain that for us.
Well, of course they will. It's in a team's interest to always employ the 2 fastest drivers they possibly can. It's in their interest thereafter to try and manage the egos and personalities of those 2 individuals who both want to win. But what you don't want to do is have a clear number 1, clear number 2, because you're limiting your chances of really battling for a championship. But at any point during the year, when one has the chance to win and the other one is lagging behind for whatever reason, the team has to make a decision, because the Drivers' Championship is where all the glory is. The Constructors' Championship, as Eddie said before, is where the money is.
OK, well, we'll hear more from this in Singapore as well. As you can see, the fans here getting very excited about today's position shootout. Today is about pole, but for the guys at the front, it's also about the next step on the road to becoming world champion. And with 35 points separating the McLaren drivers, 28 points separating the Red Bull drivers, how on earth do you go from here to deciding which driver is going to fight for the title? Well, Eddie's been asking some men in the know.
With 6 races to go, 3 teams that can win this championship, clearly 2 of them have to soon make up their mind which of their drivers they've got to focus on.
The team will want to help the driver who can win a championship. Winning races is very difficult. Winning championships is much more than that. So for a team of any sort to have a chance of winning a title, it's something they must take. And their sponsors, the people who pay the bills, would expect that. The trouble is, the downside is, the public image of how you do it has to be handled very, very carefully.
It's a very emotive subject, and I've been in the thick of it in the past, and probably the decisions we made, Austria, which kicked all this off, I think looking back on it were the wrong decisions. I don't think we needed to make that decision that early in the season, and I think it wasn't understandable to the media, it wasn't understandable to the fans, and when it's not understandable, that's when it's very difficult. I think the average fan will understand if you're at the last race and one of your drivers can win the championship and the other one can't, what are you going to do? He wouldn't expect you to do anything other than that. But where you start that trend before the enthusiast or fan can understand why you should do it, that's when you cause problems.
Psychologically, do you tell the second driver, so to speak, what your intention is?
Well, once in the past we had two drivers who were truly very equal, and they both had a chance to win the championship. We had to let them race, and it cost us a championship.
That's Mansell! That is Nigel Mansell!
If you tell a driver that he's got no chance, he's got to support the other guy, you can do a lot of damage in the teams. And you've got to find that balance of the right strategy to give a team the best chance of winning, and also keeping everyone motivated in the team.
It was a good show from the team how to lose a race today.
In any team where you've got two very competitive drivers, they're looking for every nuance of what's going on, and they can read things that are not happening.
I don't want to talk to anybody in the team because I don't want to understand. There will be a lot of blah, 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 and I don't want to hear that.
You could actually focus on one without telling the other.
You could do that. I think it becomes apparent. I think it becomes apparent within the members of the team who then, their body language or whatever, will become apparent to the driver. And quite honestly, if a driver comes to me and asks me what I'm doing, I can't lie to them. But it's very delicate, and drivers can be a bit neurotic at times.
And of the three men standing alongside me, I'm sure two would absolutely disagree with that. The drivers are ever neurotic. Dario Franchitti is with us. Dario, lovely to see you. And this is sort of reuniting two former colleagues in karts. David was regaling me with tales about your formative years racing against him. Did you generally win or not?
Well, first thing I want to say is I was promised an interview with Lee McKenzie.
Well, if you'd have come to Japan, you would have got that. You could always wait a couple of races, but Lee's only over there, so you can go and have a chat with him. Sorry to disappoint you.
No worries. DC and I go way back. My first race was actually racing with David at Lark Hall, and yeah, we've been at different sides of the world, but it's been really fun to watch him. Watch what he's done, and yeah, it's good to be back at a Grand Prix.
You can tell that you've had the Hollywood touch. You're not taking your glasses off when you're on British television. There you go. He does have eyes.
Sorry, DC.
Well, that's what happens when you go to the States.
You can tell you haven't been in the States. You're not allowed to wear white trousers after Labour Day in the States.
Listen, you're not allowed to wear white trousers on the BBC, but he won't listen. Going to the States may have sort of led you to believe you can wear your sunglasses on the BBC, but what it has done is it's given you this incredible career, 2 Indy 500 wins, emulating your hero Jimmy Clark. You're looking for your 3rd Indy title this season. Quite often when people leave British motorsport to go to the States, they fall off the radar slightly. How special has your career been over there?
It's been a lot of fun. It's been great to have that. Then success has actually come a little bit later. We won a lot of races early on, but didn't quite manage to tie a championship together, or really any of the big races, especially the 500. But it's come together now, and I think some of that's driving very good equipment at this stage. A bit more experience as well. Yeah. But for me, the option of Formula One, it was either to be a test driver, along with David and those guys here at McLaren in the late 90s, or then I was offered some race drives with not really anywhere near a top team, and I had equipment in America I could win with. So it was more important for me to go out there and drive cars that I felt I could win with.
Dario, very topical at the moment here, team orders. How does it work in Indy?
Oh yeah, we use team orders. I don't think what I saw with the stuff in Germany, it was kind of in your face, and I think Ferrari have been very much that way over the years. But we have used it in the past, and hopefully in the next couple of races, my teammate Scott Dixon will be helping me to try and win the championship. But I think if you're not, it is a part of racing, but I don't think staged finishes, that kind of stuff is not. I don't think that's right.
You're a big Ferrari fan. You had the chance to get a walk around the garage yesterday. Anything you can tell us about that emotion?
It was very interesting, actually. We drove up here. A friend of mine has been involved with a new Ferrari dealer in Monaco, Scuderia Monte Carlo. So he organised a couple of Ferraris to rock up here, and it didn't break down, which was amazing. And yeah, to see the Ferrari garage, to meet some of the guys there, was pretty interesting. Coming here and see the McLaren today, Force India, Renault. I've done a bit of a world tour, so it's been interesting to see the differences car to car.
Well, lovely to see you here. I'm sure you were also cheering on your cousin Paul de Resta, who's testing for Force India. One word answer: 2010 Formula One world champion.
Mark Webber.
Very nice, and a very popular answer as well. Congratulations on everything you've done in the States. Good luck for the rest of the season in Indy. Lovely to see you. Well, obviously, Dario, I'm sure, was very happy about Ferrari getting the news that they would have wanted from the World Motorsport Council this week. That was just one story that sort of dominated the week, but there's plenty more to talk about. Here's Ted Kravitz.
Jenson Button insists he's still in championship contention, despite being 35 points now behind leader Lewis Hamilton. Button's been fast here in practice and thinks he's in better shape now than he was at this point 12 months ago.
Yeah, I'm a lot more relaxed than I was last year going into these last 6 races. It's not because I can't fight for this championship, because I will be fighting for this championship, but it's because I have been there before, and I might not have the points lead that I had last year, but I have a more competitive car compared to our competitors this year.
Red Bull have denied speculation that a flexing front wing caused Sebastian Vettel to crash into Button at the last race. In this shot, the front wing does move fairly dramatically. The car's designer says blame lies in Vettel's erratic driving.
Well, I think that's very simple. He has very high brake pressure and then applies a very violent steering lock to try and avoid Jenson. If you try that in your road car, you'll find you probably end up in a mess and in a telegraph pole.
But Sebastian has adopted a self-motivating tactic of answering his critics.
Martin Whitmarsh called you F1's crash kid.
Thanks, it's another title, so hopefully I can get another big one this year.
Kamui Kobayashi will drive for Sauber again next year, even though he's not sounding too excited about it.
It's difficult to think what I'm going to do next year. I mean, different tyres and a lot of change regulation.
While set for an F1 return is Nick Heidfeld. He's left his job as Mercedes reserve to be test driver for Pirelli, developing those new tyres, and that's made him a valuable commodity.
I'm working on it, already having talks for a while, and now being Pirelli test driver, and additional to that also doing a lot of kilometers is important.
And finally, next year's provisional calendar has been released. There are 20 races, the most ever in a single F1 season. Starting in Bahrain on March the 13th, the British Grand Prix is at Silverstone on the 10th of July, and the soon-to-be-completed Korean racetrack is paired with the first Indian Grand Prix at a brand-new circuit in Delhi on the 30th of October.
And very shortly we'll take a proper look at the 2011 Formula One calendar and also ride on board around the South Korean circuit with Karun Chandok, who'll be joining us live as well. But I'm joined live by two young men here, Ashand and Tanasi Barnacote, because very shortly qualifying will get going, and I'm sure there'll be millions of boys around the world huddling around their TVs dreaming that one day they can be in Formula One. And these boys are hoping that they will get there as well. They're two Formula Kart Stars racers. And Bernie Eccleston Baxter Series, just tell us, how competitive is it racing in karting at your age, at 16 years of age?
Yeah, it's really competitive. It's very close. Every driver in the top 10's within a tenth of each other, so it's extremely close.
Right, so Tanasi, you turn up here, you're 11 years old, and you walk into the Formula One paddock. Just explain the emotions when you come in here as a young man that wants to be here as a racing driver one day.
Well, it's brilliant. You got all the F1 teams around you, and like maybe in 10 years you could be here, and it's just really exciting.
And we know that you're not here on your own. There's about 12 of you that have turned up here. What kind of advice do people give you to get from where you are to get into Formula One? Because, of course, it is about talent, but it's also about money and about contacts and about sponsorship. Do you know how hard it is?
Yeah, my dad works extremely hard. He's like on my kart 24/7, and I obviously try and just push my best and try and do my best really, and hopefully we get good results.
Great, Ash, we can have a look at you racing now. You're getting sort of, I suppose, old for karts, really, maybe another season or two. Where would be the next natural step for you once you've beaten everybody that comes near you?
I'd hope to move into Formula Renault maybe next year, so just so I'm in single-seaters and hopefully progressing up the ladder.
Fantastic, and put your hands in the air if you think you're going to make it one day to Formula One. That's what I'm talking about. A good bit of confidence from two young British drivers. Congratulations to both of you. I know that you're both leading in your series, so let's hope that you also manage to win the championship. So you're starting karting, and where do you go next? Well, one of the natural places to progress to eventually is Formula BMW, David.
And I'm over here with Jack Harvey. We spoke to you earlier in the season at Germany. You've done a few races since then. You had one race this morning. You want to just talk us through that?
Well, I mean,
yesterday in qualifying. We managed to get double pole, so started the weekend off perfectly, really. There was a little bit of oil down on the grid. So obviously my teammate overtook me, who was starting second, so I spent the first 2 laps in second, then got knocked off by one of the other drivers, so didn't finish the race.
Well, you've actually got one more race. We're actually just joining it here at the start. So if you just talk us through what was going here. You started on the right-hand side there. You lost the lead in the run down to first corner.
Yeah, a little bit of oil on our side of the grid, which didn't really help, but yeah, that's the way it goes, I guess. Then just seeing, just before I get knocked off by the other driver, tried to turn into the corner like normal, and he just over-ambitious move, I guess.
Okay, well, you're still in the hunt for the championship. You've got another race tomorrow, the way it works in Formula BMW. What do you need to do to clinch this?
Well, we're 21 points behind, so it's obviously going to be quite a challenge now. All I've got to do is try and go out and win, and then at least, like I said, I've done my maximum. I need him to finish outside the top 9, so it's a tall order, but you know, we're remaining optimistic at the moment.
Well, Formula BMW has been used as a springboard for the likes of Ralf Schumacher, Nico Rosberg, Sebastian Vettel. What does this mean for next year for you, using this championship?
I'm hoping to do British Formula 3 next year, but with which team, I think it's still pretty undecided. Obviously, I'll speak to the racing steps at the end of this weekend and discuss the best way forward for 2011.
Okay, well, good luck with that. Good luck with your future. There's many options available to the various young drivers, and Jake's joined with another young driver who's taking a different route.
He is indeed. Thanks very much, David. Jack, good luck tomorrow morning, and good luck next weekend to Jolyon Palmer, who's racing in Formula 2. Now, Jolyon, you were leading the championship. You went to Oschersleben a little while ago. Explain what happened.
Yeah, it wasn't such a good weekend for me in Oschersleben. Coming into it, leading the championship. Had a good first wet race and finished third, but had a bit of a mistake in qualifying and lost the lead quite badly. But one more round to go next weekend at Valencia. Hopefully I can get 2 wins and yeah, win the championship, and that'll give me a Formula 1 test here with Williams.
And that's the special thing, actually, is that when you get to your level and to win the championship, you get a test with Williams. I know that you're here meeting GP2 teams. You start to feel you're getting so close to Formula 1. Does that increase the pressure?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, this year's been a really good year for me. I've come from kind of not much to suddenly being right at the forefront of people's kind of the setting here. So yeah, there's a bit more pressure, of course, but I've got to do the job still and hopefully get in the Williams test and, yeah, speaking to GP2 teams about next year.
And people have obviously been watching you race throughout this season, and they know that your dad raced in Formula 1. He actually raced in one race for Williams, didn't he? Which is quite nice that you get a test in their car, and of course, he raced for Tyrrell for a long time. You're here meeting GP2 teams. Do you show them this kind of footage? Do you say, look, this is me racing, this is me winning, or do they want to know how much money you've got or who your sponsors are? When you meet them, what is it they want to know from you?
I think with most of the GP2 teams, they want a driver that can win the championship, really, so they look good. So I think it's good to show them sort of footage of me winning and just so they really believe in me doing the best job rather than the sponsorship and everything else that comes. So I think I've just got to prove myself to them, and hopefully it'll all come good for next year.
And that's the important thing, actually, proving yourself, because your dad helps to run Formula 2, and it would be good for you, obviously, to win it, but then to go into a category where your dad isn't involved and show that you can do it there as well. Yeah,
definitely. I mean, it's a disadvantage to an extent, having my dad so close in the championship, but I think it'll be important for me to go next year in something different and prove myself on a different ground.
Okay, fantastic. Well played. Really good luck in Valencia. I know that Dean Stoneman will give you a real run for your money, but good luck there. So we've met a couple of young Carters. We've met Jack, who's racing in Formula BMW, Jolyon, who's made it up to Formula 2. And then what's next? Well, hopefully for all these guys, one day GP2. But even when you get there and you're pushing for the title, a drive in Formula 1 is far from guaranteed. Here's Lee McKenzie.
With 11 of the 24 drivers on the grid having competed in the GP2 series, it's always worth a look into that paddock to see who'll be breaking into Formula 1 in 2011. With one round in the championship to go, the top 2 have their sights on breaking into the big time.
This season we are winning too much, so for sure we are looking to Formula 1. Now we are working very hard. Maybe next 2 months we need to be very concentrated and work very hard to be there in a good team.
It's my aim to be there next year. I think I've done so far a good job. I still not finished the championship, but I think I've shown that I deserve a good chance in Formula 1.
So how does it work for guys like yourself and for Sergio Perez? Have the teams been watching you all year, do you know?
Yeah, my manager, Nicolas Todd, is working very hard. He's the manager of Felipe. So the possibilities are very big.
I had a lot of problems during my season, and probably they don't know this, and they just look at the results and they see that I'm second, a bit far from Pastor, but it's been due to a lot of things.
Is that a secret, or can you give us any ideas of who you've been talking to?
No, not yet. It's too early, but for sure we are looking for a good team. Now I'm concentrating on the championship. We are very close to close the champion, so we have to see this weekend.
There are a few teams. There are definitely a few teams. Really, we are looking to get the best option as possible and see if I can be there next year.
So will Venezuela, Mexico, or maybe both have a new representative in Formula One next year? Well, for the early part of this year, the man representing India was Karun Chandhok. Unfortunately, the year hasn't lasted as long as he would have hoped. We'll talk about your future in just a moment. But first, those two guys, Perez and... are they good enough? Would they make it into Formula One, do you think?
Well, I've known Sergio for a while. He's actually a good friend of mine. I was a driver coach for him when he was doing F3 back in British Formula 3. Lovely guy, very quick driver, and yeah, I think he's done a great job this year, and I think he'll get a crack at it.
Maldonado?
Pastor, I mean, he's been around GP2 for a long time. In his fourth year, what he's done is sort of expected. There's not that many second-year drivers this year as we've had in the past in GP2. So, I'd say Perez is probably the pick of the bunch this year.
And perhaps the lesson is, once you make it into Formula One, you haven't necessarily made it for a whole season. Explain to us the situation you're in now. Have we seen all we're going to see of you in a Formula One car for 2010, do you think?
I don't know, is the honest answer. It's a frustrating situation. We'll wait and see. But as you can imagine, right now my focus is more on 2011 to make sure we're in a good position there.
When you say we,
between
yourself?
my management and myself.
Not Hispania?
No, it could be with Hispania. But of course, talking to them, it's the starting place. But there's a few other teams, and obviously we got the India Grand Prix coming up, and I'm reasonably optimistic we'll be there.
Can you just explain, how can you be in a situation like this, that you start a season? Is it a race-by-race contract, or is it a money issue? Or?
No, I mean, at the end of the day, the team have 4 drivers on a contract, and it is sort of their prerogative who they want to put in the car. What makes that decision is more a team comment. I can't really say why they choose that.
I'm just more concerned about the psychological approach. When you come here and you know you can't race, and you want to go training and you want to do all the mental applications that you do to be a racing driver, how disconcerting is it knowing that you're not going to be here, you're not going to be racing?
Well, I'm the first to admit that I didn't train probably as hard as I normally would have when I found out about Budapest and Hockenheim. But that was a while ago now, and once we got the summer break, then it's back to normal. And as I said, if I get some race at the end of this year, that'll be great. But I'm training like hell to make sure I'm ready for 2011.
Okay, and in 2011 we will be racing in Korea, and you'll arrive there in a rather unique position if you're in Formula One, because you'll be one of the only guys to have driven around there in an F1 car. We can have a look now on board. How finished is the circuit? That's probably the question that everybody wants to know as we're getting so close to racing there.
Well, I think the first thing to point out to people is the race will happen. There's been so many question marks, so many doubts. Even in this paddock, people are asking me this weekend. It's not going to be perfect. The circuit is, it's not completely done. There's no doubt about it. But it will be finished in time for the race. Obviously, I took DC's seat in the show car, I mean, you could see they were going on board some bits of the circuit. What was surprising is just how close the walls are. I'm not quite sure. I haven't spoken to Tilke why he's made it a bit like a street circuit. But it's got a reasonable layout, and we did some donuts and had a bit of fun for the fans.
Yeah, that does stand out, the fact that the walls are so close to the track. That's obviously a different thought process in the FIA standards that they work to and design. What track on the current calendar would it be similar to?
I would have said Valencia street circuit, but with some quicker corners. There's a section from turn 7, 8, 9, which is going to be probably 5th gear, very quick, definite Red Bull territory from what we've seen at Silverstone. There's, a bank sort of left-hander at turn 11, which is again going to be 4th, 5th gear. So I'd say it's a slightly quicker version of Valencia. But what they've done intelligently is they've done long straights with hairpins onto and off it, which should offer some overtaking opportunities. And I know the Red Bull guys, I spoke to Mark Webber about it. He's a little bit worried about the opening lap because they've got 3 long straights with hairpins. Even if they qualify on the front row, they could be in trouble on the opening lap.
I'm just thinking that, you know, circuit like this and indeed India next year, what's the atmosphere like in India? Because this must be a huge moment, a major international event.
I tell you, Eddie, this week they announced the calendar, obviously, and they announced the date for the India Grand Prix, 30th of October. I was on this phone for, I think I counted 7.5 hours on the day of the announcement. Just every news channel, every newspaper, its cover page. I've just taken some of the press coverage to show Bernie this morning, and he's obviously ecstatic. There's a big atmosphere. But I mean, Lewis Hamilton's going to Madras next week on Friday, and there's already over, I think they've had 500,000 people text in for tickets to go just to see him and go around the circuit in a road car, you know. So I'm going to be optimistic and say we'll have bigger crowds than we've seen at Shanghai and Turkey and places like that. I think India, a lot of people go to places like Singapore and Malaysia and stuff from India, and if they get a chance to see a race in their own country, I think it'll work well.
Okay, we're all looking forward to going to India. A 20-race Canada next year. It's virtually lasting 12 months, which is perhaps what Bernie Ecclestone's after, having Formula One running all year long, but extra motivation for you to be in a car, if not for the rest of 2010, then certainly for the 2011 season, racing at home.
Yeah.
All right.
Definitely. I mean, it's we'll see how it goes. You know, to be the first Indian driver at your home Grand Prix will be pretty special. So let's see how it goes.
Okay, and work on that fitness if you let yourself go.
No,
it's not good enough, you know.
It was only a week. It was only a week of being a little bit depressed, but I'm over it now.
Good, because people often say to me, actually, how fit do you need to be a Formula One driver? And the answer is quite fit when you spend your weekends off doing this.
Monte Carlo, normally a haven of relaxation, unless you're an F1 driver who just doesn't know how to unwind on a weekend off. The result, 2 teams in a grilling triathlon relay.
It was good fun, actually. There's loads of jellyfish in the sea, but yeah, it was good fun.
It's an awesome triathlon, right? I live in Monaco, next door. It's good for training. It's the same type of training we do to drive Formula One cars.
I had 2 girls following me for the whole thing, and in 250 metres to go, they both passed me and just left me for dead. But yeah, they must have been professional swimmers, I think.
Well, at least they passed you and they didn't hit into the side of you.
Exactly, no crashing in the water today.
Bruno's got the hard deal. He's going to do a 100-kilometre bike ride. Who decided this?
Oh, of course I did. So I took the easy part for me.
So did you get a bit of a difficult deal if Jensen swims a kilometre and you have to cycle 100 kilometres?
Yeah, Austrian cheap workforce, you know, we have to do the hard, real labor.
Yeah, it was kind of a surprise when he told me we were in the race but you know, I like doing my bike riding, and it was a pleasure for me to do it.
The final leg was a 10k run with Lucas Di Grassi doing a second stint against Nico Rosberg, who not for the first time this season was showing some impressive speed.
Just a minute behind Jenson and Nico and Alex, so very happy.
A bit disappointed to see Nico overtaking you into that hairpin.
I saw them banging shoulders and like pushing each other. I see that on the track, maybe this can end up in tears.
And Nico Rosberg walks off looking a little the worse for wear after that run. Come on, you live in Monaco, why were you not getting involved in that?
Thankfully, I wasn't invited. It looks like torture. Imagine doing that on your weekend off.
How fit are you now that you're DTMing rather than F1ing?
Definitely not as fit as I used to be, but obviously, you know, there's a little bit of G-force in a DTM car, but 2G. When you compare that to Formula One, where you're getting spikes of 5G, then you can say roughly I'm probably half as fit as I used to be.
Amazing. Well, one man who's continuing to be as fit as humanly possible, despite the fact he's been in Formula One for quite a long time, is Jarno Trulli. However, coming home here to Italy hasn't been the happiest of hunting grounds, so the BBC decided to cheer him up by buying him his very own car direct from Norfolk.
Jarno, your Formula One car is going to be quite a bit bigger and faster than that. You're looking forward to your home race here in Monza?
Yeah, it's always nice to be in Monza. It's a special Grand Prix, and obviously it's a special track as well. As you know, it's a high-speed circuit, so we reach 210 miles per hour at the end of the straight, and it's something quite challenging.
This pit straight really narrows towards the end, doesn't it? It gives you quite a strange visual effect.
It narrows not only because it gets narrow, it narrows because of the speed as well. So at the end of the straight, it really gets very, very narrow.
The fans are already preparing for the weekend. Remind me, what does tifosi actually mean in Italian?
Tifosi is basically supporters, but we know that the tifosi in Italy are really big, especially for Ferrari. when you say tifosi, it's mainly the Italian supporters, and you can see them camping around and mainly supporting Ferrari. We see a lot of red flags around the circuit. They actually have a pretty good spot at the end of the straight. Hard braking, this is also one of the points where we can have some overtaking maneuver, so it's nice. And you will see on Sunday will be full, complete right and left, you know, with all the Italian and red flags.
You arrive here at 210 miles an hour. You lose 160 miles an hour in just 3 seconds to hit the apex at 50 miles an hour. Explain the energy that's going on inside the cockpit.
It's like having a bang in your head. Obviously we are used, but before we get here, you know, we have raced many times in the past. We have raced many times during the season, so we are basically fit for that. But no one else probably could accept for more than one lap that kind of stress. There is basically one line, especially now that there is a new curb. You can't ride it anymore because you will be launched. As you can see, you'll be launched away from this second red curb at the inside. You can't ride this, you can only ride this side here. You can actually put the wheel up to here, but no more.
And if you get in trouble, you can sort of cheat through the middle there, yeah? But is it any better?
Well, it is better. It gives you a bit more freedom in case of trouble or in case you get too late on the brakes, and obviously you have to cut the chicane. But now FIA has been more and more strict on cutting in chicane, and actually we have some new sensor installed on this chicane, which eventually they are going to use in order to understand which car has been cutting the chicane, and second, to analyze the data and see if they have gained any time.
Nice little toy to play with. You can see the sun is out. It's getting really hot actually here in Italy. We'll see how that affects the cars and the drivers during qualifying very shortly. 38 degrees track temperature at the moment. Eddie, we've heard that Kamui Kobayashi has signed to Sauber for next year. We're just outside the Sauber motorhome. Jarno Trulli is making all the noises to suggest he wants another season in Formula One.
Well, the thing is that Jarno, he has been a winner, and of course you get hyped up when you come to his home ground, which is here. Jarno is a fabulously interesting guy, and his involvement in the future is certainly going to be in the wine business. He's a great grower, but right now he wants to win again, and you know, he's in a team that clearly can't. So where he goes to, I'm not really sure, and there's not that many openings for somebody like Jarno Trulli, because you have to think about where's he going to go from here.
Okay, the teams that are winning races at the moment have got their drivers, they're happy with them. McLaren have got Lewis and Jensen, but even when you've got two world champions in the same team driving effectively the same car, you can go in very different routes when it comes to setting up your car for a specific Grand Prix, and we're actually seeing, if we take a look inside the McLaren garage, that's exactly what's happened this weekend.
Yeah, indeed. We have Jensen's car there, you can see, and just in his rear wing, he's got his F-duct, and you'll be able to notice when we go to the footage, there you go, they're just focusing in on that F-duct, directs air from front of the car. The driver blocks off a little tunnel which sends that onto the rear wing, stalling the rear wing and increasing the speed. And then as we make our way across the garage here to Lewis's car, you'll be able to see that rear wing a lot lower, a lot less angle of that wing as it attacks into the air. So he's gone for a lower downforce setup using the actual wing angle, where Jensen's running more downforce and stalling the wing using the F-duct.
And how much would this have been a decision made by the driver or the team, Eddie? How do these things work?
Well, what happens is the engineers put the different combinations, the permutations in front of the drivers, and they make sure they run it through the computer, because it's all simulated. It's very, very clinical, it's very accurate. And one driver feels that maybe in the drag, in the heated moment, he wants to have the speed to be able to pass down the straight. That's the way Lewis seems to have gone.
You need to answer the question.
Pardon?
How are you going to answer the question?
But for me, the decision would be, I think, ultimately the driver.
Yeah. There you go. He has answered the question at the end there, eventually. It's interesting that the F-duct has given this sort of new route for setting up a car for this particular Grand Prix, and it's a race where you will need to get your setup right, because Mark Webber's been talking about the fact that actually, as well as Ferrari and McLaren and Red Bull, you can probably this weekend throw Williams pretty close into the mix. Force India and Renault could be really tight as well.
Yeah, this is a very unique challenge in this track. A lot of long straights, doing well over 200 miles an hour into 3 of the big stopping areas here. So what we've seen in previous circuits doesn't necessarily mean the form we'll see on this track. I think that the shootout for pole will be between those 3 top teams that we've seen battling for the championship. But as you say, some of the other teams are going to be in the mix there because maybe they have a car that works with low downforce.
And what do you think of Red Bull's pace? Because we came here with Christian Horner and the like saying weakest race of the calendar for us, and they actually don't look particularly weak, do they?
Full marks to Renault. They're probably the most reliable engine there at this moment in time, and they've upped their game, no doubt about that. I was somewhat critical about the overall speed, but they've counteracted that.
Okay, let's quickly hear from Christian Horner.
Christian, we're just on your way to the pit wall. What happened with Mark? He lost half the last practice session this morning.
Yeah, no, just downshifting into the first chicane, basically had an engine airbox fire, so it basically suffocated the engine, and you lose all power at that point. It's a rogue failure. We've seen it once or twice before, and Ferrari had one, I think, at Silverstone last year as well. So we'll probably have to run a slightly more conservative setting on that engine, but nothing, nothing fundamental or for us to be too concerned about.
But it might lose him a bit of power, you're saying?
I don't think so. It's just basically when they're in the braking phase. So, I think that we're very happy that the problem should be a one-off, and we don't expect to see it again this afternoon.
Thanks, Christian. Have a good session.
Thank you.
Okay, so not a problem-free weekend for Red Bull so far, but they won't be too worried about the first part of qualifying. But who will be the first 7 to fall? Time to join Martin Brundle and Jonathan Ledyard.